Sorry it's taken so long for the next bits. It was hard to write about. Without further ado, and before I have another panic attack and take it all down, I'll give you part 3. Decades have passed since that dark laughter haunted my waking hours. Mere hours since it invaded my sleep. Over the years, doctors had explained away the fits as improperly diagnosed health issues, coupled with the mass amount of pills they had shoved down her throat mixing badly. There was a pattern to it all, they'd say. Mom would be nervous and upset because Dad was away. The anxiety would creep in and make her tense, causing a migraine. I would antagonize the situation, which would spike her anxiety and throw her into a mini seizure, which caused the laughing, which was more stress, which meant bigger seizure. Therefore, it was all my fault. Except I've never, not even once, intentionally provoked my mother in any manner, especially when she was ill. I'm not saying I was a perfect child. I wasn't. I got into trouble for all manner of ridiculous things. Kool-Aid dust in the air, toast burning, Mika's hair in tangles, reading books after lights out. It didn't matter. I still caused the monster. I was the monster. I'm not telling you all this so you'll feel bad for me. It's more a cautionary tale. Because there's always more to a story, and there's rarely a happily ever after. I still get tense when I hear hearty laughter. The kind that sounds like it comes from the pit of your belly. It sounds sinister to my ears. I always find one hand clasping at my throat, the other tracing the now faint scar over my heart. People find me strange, but I don't mind. I travel the world under the guise of a freelance photographer, moving from place to place, never settling down. I make my money with my pictures, but it's really all a lie, a facade I hide behind. It was not my mother that terrorized my childhood. I was not the monster outside the closet. It left its hideous bruise on our little family, but we were not the only ones. It left me with physical scars, but I'm not the only one. I travel now, taking pictures of this cruel world, and sometimes I find beauty. Mostly what I find are the victims the monster left behind. I hunt it, just as it hunts me. During my travels, I amassed a great amount of religious texts, books on demonology and spirits, mythology, folklore, and fairy tales. I searched for the proof that the monster wasn't just a symptom. The doctor was right. There is a pattern. I didn't notice it until it was too late. When I was just barely 21 and still undecided in school, I met a man. We shall call him Douche Hensworth. The first time I laid eyes on him, he was quietly following me around the little store I worked part-time in. Is there something I can help you find? No, I'm good. I nodded and continued my work in the next aisle. Within a few minutes, he was only a few feet away again, staring intently at cat food, the store basket hanging from his fingers, empty. After a few more minutes of this, with him coming ever closer, I spoke up again. Are you sure there isn't something I can help you with? I'm good, thanks. He gave me the most awkward smile I've ever seen. I just nodded and walked away. This pattern, of me changing aisles and him following, never picking anything up, continued for an hour. Thoroughly creeped out, I went and hid in the stockroom. 10 minutes later, 3 of the cashiers came rushing in, giggling and grinning. That guy was following you around? Yes. They giggled some more. He left his number for you. You should call him. I wadded up the little piece of paper and threw it in the trash. It was probably a week later I started noticing him everywhere I went. He followed me around at work some days. Other days I'd see him while I was running errands. The girls at work all thought it was adorable puppy love. I thought it was annoying. I started trading my stocking work for paperwork so I could stay in the back office and avoid him. I wish now I would have just told him off. Instead, after weeks of his stalkerish behavior and all the women at work begging me to just go on a date with him, I agreed. He decided to take me out to a fancy reservation-only restaurant in the city. It sounds silly to be so upset over a wonderful date. I didn't want to go. I was too busy trying to untangle my life from the crazy one I had at home with my parents and Mika. I didn't want to add any more drama to the mix. After all, Mom still had her fits. The laughter was different now, though. In place of the menacing and evil laughter was a frightened, choked laugh. She no longer tried to attack me or Mika. The day before the date, I formulated a plan to ensure Douche would forever leave me alone. I couldn't do something so simple as to tell him I wasn't and wouldn't ever be interested, even though that would have been the proper thing to do. That would risk hurting his feelings, and for the life of me, whether it's because it's been ingrained into my brain since childhood or otherwise, I cannot hurt another person's feelings. The thought of hurting someone makes me feel sick to my stomach. I would rather someone hurt me than hurt them. So I called the restaurant and asked to speak to the manager. I'm calling in regards to Mr. Douche's reservation at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Yes? This is going to sound insane, but I need your help. This is his date. I've rebuffed this man's advances for weeks and he just can't take the hint. I would like to make this the worst date possible. I'll be ordering the most expensive item on your menu. When it arrives, I will throw a fit that it's not right and demand it to be sent back. I'll do this 3 times total. Please do not make me a new dish every time, just set it in the warmer for a few minutes and bring it back. Please tell the server what's going on so they're aware everything they're doing is just fine. Can you do this? He chuckled. Basically what you're saying is you're going on a pity date with a guy you don't like and you want it to be horrible so he'll essentially dump you. Exactly. We can do this. Thanks for calling and warning me. We chatted for a few more minutes and decided exactly how things would go down. And he even gave me advice on rotten things to say. It pains me to say, I was now actually looking forward to the date. I was a fool. I made him late for our reservations by sitting in my bathroom shouting that I was almost ready, until Mika came storming in telling me to shut up and go because she had tests to study for. I ordered a drink on the rocks, then complained about the ice being too big. They brought it back slushed, so I complained it was watery. I ordered steak and lobster, the steak rare, and complained the steak was too bloody. The lobster was overcooked. When they brought it back, I complained the steak was overcooked and the lobster cold. The third time I complained they had taken so long with my dinner that it should be comped and accused the server of spitting in my salad. The magnificent waiter almost gave us away when he had to swallow a snicker. The entire time Douche wore a poker face. After dinner, he cut the date short claiming he had to get up early, kissed me on the cheek in the parking lot, and said he'd call me the next day. Feeling quite successful, I drove my car around the block and returned to the restaurant. I left the staff $100 and thanked them for their help. My next memory is standing in front of the emergency exit of the local church in a sparkling princess wedding gown, wondering how much trouble I'd get into if I ran out the door, jumped in my car, and drove away. Unfortunately, instead I married Douche. I only know how much time had passed because of paperwork. The marriage certificate states we were married 7 months after that disastrous date. My next memory cuts in the middle of a screaming match over his beer. Apparently there wasn't enough, even though I'd told him that he had too much. He backhanded me and hurled an empty bottle at the wall beside my head. The mouth of the bottle was splintering. "Screw you! Screw you and your beer!" I screamed. "Screw my beer? You want me to screw my beer? Okay, that can be arranged." I tried to get away, but I wasn't fast enough. He was on me in seconds, pushing me down and pinning me to the ground. "It'll only hurt more if you struggle," he breathed in my ear. I'm sure you can imagine where that broken bottle ended up. I could barely move for days, let alone walk. Months later, I would find out that the damage he dealt my body that night would make it nearly impossible for me to ever have children. He took my phone, my keys, and my wallet, and left me alone in our apartment for 2 weeks with only a single can of that cranberry gel you serve at Thanksgiving, and 2 bags of microwave popcorn. But I survived. I only have bits and pieces of hazy memory left from the next few weeks. Sometimes a smell or sound will have a new one rushing to assault me. I think I went somewhere in my head, somewhere away from all the violence I couldn't escape from. The doctors call it partial amnesia, but we'll get to that. My next clear memory is from the day the monster re-entered my life. We were arguing over beer again. I had hidden a 12-pack of Heineken in the oven and he was tearing the kitchen apart trying to find it. He'd already polished off a 6-pack. He grabbed me by my throat, lifted me off my feet, and pushed me into the cabinets. His other hand was balled into a fist. Douche was over a foot taller than me and had packed 250 pounds into his lanky frame. Lifting my 5'2" half-starved frame must have been like picking up a rag doll. He jerked me towards him. We were nose to nose now. If I wasn't scared before, I definitely was as I watched his pupils dilate and the corners of his mouth pull up into a cruel sneer.
Are you scared yet?
Usually those words cause ice water to run through my veins. This time I was just annoyed. No, I wheezed. I brought my hands up over his arm and clasped my fists together, bringing them down as hard as I could on the inside of his elbow. I had hoped it would break his grip on me. Instead, I broke his nose and the force of the blow to his arm yanked me closer, causing me to unintentionally headbutt him. He dropped me to the floor and howled in anger. I cowered and tried to crawl away, but he grabbed the back of my shirt and hoisted me up. You're just a narcissistic megalomaniac. I'll never fear, and he threw me into the wall. I was proud of my insult. The words were probably too big for his rage-fueled brain. My vision was starting to go black around the edges and I couldn't feel my face. Every time I tried to breathe in, my body would shudder and spasm. As I started to lose consciousness, I heard the familiar squeak of the oven door opening. It sounded so far away. I'm tired of your crap, you psycho. He opened another beer. I want a divorce. I was so happy that I let myself be pulled into the blackness without a fight.